Hey guys, tonight we plunge into the gritty, grimy chaos of a medieval village, where the air smells of mud and manure, and the cobblestone streets, more like dirt tracks, squelch under your bare feet. You're a peasant, dressed in a scratchy tunic, dodging carts and stray pigs as you navigate this 14th century mess. You probably won't survive a single day here, trust me. One wrong step, and you're face down in something unmentionable. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're trudging through the village, the ground a sticky mix of mud, animal dung, and who knows what else. Your feet bare because shoes are a luxury you can't afford. Historians say most medieval peasants went barefoot, especially in warmer months, their soles toughened by years of this muck. You're wincing with every step, pebbles jabbing your heels, the cold slime oozing between your toes. The street's alive. Vendors shout, dogs bark, and a cartwheel creaks past, splashing you with filth. You're already missing sneakers, aren't you? Here's the quirky bit. Some villagers believed stepping in certain kinds of manure brought good luck, so you're half tempted to aim for a cowpat just in case. Historians still argue whether this was genuine superstition or a way to cope with the constant mess. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone dodging medieval mud with #luckydung vibes. The air's thick, a mix of smoke from open fires and the sour tang of unwashed bodies making you gag. You're heading to the fields, where your feudal lord expects you to toil, but first you've got to cross this street without slipping into a ditch. Ever try walking barefoot on a muddy trail? It's like ice skating, but grosser. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Street Survival. The village hums around you. Kids chase a chicken, a woman hauls water, her bucket sloshing. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses stitching warm parkas and how you'd trade this mud for their snowy tundra in a heartbeat. The Lord's Manor looms in the distance, a stone reminder of who owns your labour. You're just a peasant, bound to the land, your day ruled by work and prayer. The mud's slowing you down, each step a slog, but there's something oddly rhythmic about it. Squelch, wince, repeat. You're yawning already, the village's chaos blending into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep moving. One day in this world, and you're already dreaming of a hot shower. The street's noise, the distant church bell, it's a gritty lullaby, and you're bracing for what's next in this medieval nightmare. You're still slogging through the medieval village, the mud from those filthy streets. Remember that lucky cowpat you dodged, clinging to your bare feet like a second skin? The air's heavy with smoke and the faint reek of rotting scraps, and you're starving, your stomach growling louder than the stray dogs nearby. Now you're huddled in a dim, drafty hut, staring at a bowl of watery porridge, the only breakfast a 14th century peasant like you can expect. It's barely dawn, and you're already wondering how you'll survive this day, the cold seeping into your bones. Historians say medieval peasants relied on gruel, think oats or barley boiled to a sad grey mush, as a daily staple, often the only meal for the poor. You're spooning it up with a wooden spoon, the texture lumpy, the taste like wet cardboard. There's no salt, no butter, just a faint grit that makes you wince. You're sitting on a dirt floor, a rickety table wobbling under your bowl, the hut's thatched roof leaking a drizzle onto your shoulder. Ever try eating something that looks like it failed a cooking show? It's like swallowing sadness, but you're too hungry to care. Here's the quirky bit. Some peasants believe stirring gruel clockwise brought good fortune, so you're giving it a spin, hoping for a miracle, like actual flavour. Historians still argue whether this was a superstition or just a way to make meals less depressing. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone stirring medieval mush with #gruelluck vibes. The hut's smoky, a fire in the corner spitting more haze than heat, making your eyes sting. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses tanning hides in their cosy cormac and how their seal-fat meals sound gourmet compared to this slop. The gruel's gone cold, each bite a test of willpower, but you force it down, fieldwork awaits, and you'll need the energy. You're surrounded by your family, if you can call them that. 2 kids picking at their bowls, a wife grinding grain by hand. The Lord's fields don't care if you're full. Dawn means work and you're already late. The spoon scrapes the bowl's bottom, the last bit of gruel more grit than food. You're yawning, the hut's dim light and the fire's faint crackle pulling you into a sleepy haze, but there's no time to rest. Ever try eating breakfast while dreading a 12-hour shift? It's like chugging instant coffee before a marathon, but with worse vibes. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Breakfast Blues. The village outside stirs, bells clang, roosters crow, and you're bracing for the day's toil, wishing for a bagel or literally anything else. You're stumbling out of the hut, the taste of that watery gruel, stirred clockwise for luck, remember? Still clinging to your tongue like a bad memory. The medieval village is waking, the air sharp with frost and the stench of last night's slops. Your bare feet numb from the cold mud. Now, you're facing the grim reality of medieval sanitation, trudging toward an outhouse that makes your stomach churn before you even lift the creaky wooden lid. It's the 14th century, and you're learning fast that personal hygiene here is more nightmare than necessity. Historians say medieval sanitation was dire, with most villages relying on open latrines or cesspits, often just holes in the ground shared by dozens. You're at the outhouse now, a rickety shack perched over a pit, the smell hitting you like a punch, rotting waste, damp earth, and something you don't want to name. You're holding your breath, balancing on a wobbly plank, praying you don't slip. The walls are splintered, offering zero privacy, and you can hear a neighbour coughing nearby. Ever use a bathroom that feels like a horror movie set? It's like squatting in a haunted swamp. Here's the quirky bit. Some believe tossing a sprig of thyme into the pit kept evil spirits away, so you're chucking one in, hoping it masks the stench too. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a desperate stab at aromatherapy. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone tossing herbs into a porta potty, with number medieval toilet hack vibes. The outhouse is drafty, the wind whistling through gaps, making you shiver in your thin tunic. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses sewing cozy parkas in their karmak, and how you'd trade this pit for their snowy tundra any day. The plank creaks, and you're hurrying, desperate to escape the smell and the buzzing flies. Sanitation's a luxury, baths are rare, soaps for the rich, and you're stuck wiping with a handful of leaves. You're already dreading the next visit, wondering how anyone survives this without gagging. The village hums outside, carts rumble, a pig squeals, and you're stepping back into the muddy street. The outhouse's stench clinging to you like a curse. You're yawning, the early hour and the grim task pulling you into a sleepy haze, but there's no time to linger. Ever rush through a chore just to feel human again? It's like speed cleaning a disaster zone, but smellier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Surviving the Medieval Outhouse. The church bell rings, calling you to the fields, and you're bracing for the day's grind, wishing for a flush toilet and a dreamless nap. You're trudging away from that vile outhouse, its stench, barely softened by that thyme sprig, still haunting your nose as you wipe your hands on your tunic, the muddy village streets squelching under your bare feet. The morning air bites, thick with smoke and the sour whiff of livestock, and your stomach's already grumbling despite that sad gruel breakfast. Now, you're toiling in the Lord's fields, bent over rows of barley under a grey sky, your back aching as the feudal system's whip looms over you. It's the 14th century, and you're a peasant, tied to this land, working from dawn to dusk for scraps. Historians say medieval peasants spent most of their lives labouring in fields owned by feudal lords, growing crops like barley or wheat, with little reward beyond survival. You're wielding a wooden hoe, breaking clods of earth, each swing jarring your shoulders. The overseer, a sour-faced man with a stick, barks if you pause too long, his voice sharper than the wind. The field stretches endlessly, a sea of dirt and stubble, and you're sweating despite the chill, your tunic sticking to your skin. Ever do back-breaking work with no end in sight? It's like digging a ditch in a rainstorm, but with worse pay. Here's the quirky bit. Some peasants whispered charms to their tools, believing it made the soil yield better crops. You're muttering one now, half joking, hoping your hoe magically speeds up. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a way to stay sane during endless toil. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone charming a shovel with hashtag medieval farming hacks vibes. The air's damp, the earth's cold scent mixing with your sweat, making you long for a break that'll never come. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses stitching warm kamiks in their cozy karmak, and how their craft seems like art compared to this dirt-caked grind. The overseer's watching, stick-tapping his palm, and you're keeping your head down, hacking at the soil. You're owed a portion of the harvest, but the Lord takes most, leaving you just enough to not starve. The guild rules from that Parisian baker's tale. They'd feel like a holiday compared to this relentless labour. The sun's barely up, but your hands are blistered, the hose handle splintering your palms. You're yawning, the field's monotony and the early hour pulling you into a sleepy haze, but stopping means trouble. Ever work so hard you forget what rest feels like? It's like pulling an all-nighter with no coffee in sight. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Fieldwork Woes. The church bell tolls faintly, marking another hour of your life owed to the Lord, and you're bracing for the next task in this exhausting medieval day. You're staggering out of the Lord's fields, your back screaming from swinging that charmed hoe. Remember that whispered farming spell? And your hands roar from the splintery handle. The medieval village hums around you, the air thick with damp earth and the faint clang of a blacksmith's hammer, your bare feet caked with mud from those endless rows. Now, you're bound by the church's iron grip, its bells dictating every moment of your 14th century peasant life, calling you to prayer like a cosmic alarm clock. It's midday, and you're hurrying to the stone chapel, the tolling bell drowning out your grumbling stomach. Historians say the medieval church controlled daily life, with bells signalling prayers, work breaks, and even curfews, shaping a rhythm most peasants couldn't ignore. You're shuffling into the chapel, its cold stone floor numbing your toes, the air heavy with incense and wax. The priest, in a threadbare robe, drones in Latin, words you don't understand but nod along to, kneeling on the hard ground. You're supposed to pray 5 times daily, dawn, noon, and more, but you're already exhausted, and it's not even lunchtime. Ever try keeping a schedule that feels like a full-time job? It's like your phone buzzing with meeting reminders, but holier. Here's the quirky bit. Some villagers believed missing a prayer invited bad luck, like a storm ruining the harvest, so you're mouthing the words just in case. Historians still argue whether this was genuine faith or fear of divine gossip. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone rushing to church with #medieval prayer panic vibes. The chapel's dim, lit by flickering candles, the priest's voice a monotonous hum that's oddly soothing, despite your aching knees. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses, free to stitch in their karmak without bells bossing them around, and how you'd trade this pew for their cosy circle. The congregation's a mix. Farmers, weavers, a kid picking his nose, and you're all here because skipping means a fine or a lecture. The church expects tithes too, 1/10 of your meagre crops, and you're dreading the collection basket. Those Parisian bakers dodged guild spies, but here, the priest's your overseer, and God's apparently keeping score. You're yawning, the chapel's warmth and the Latin drone pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay awake. Dozing during prayer's a sin, apparently. Ever try staying alert in a boring meeting? It's like fighting sleep in a lecture hall, but with more guilt. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Surviving Medieval Mass. The bell rings again, signalling the end, and you're shuffling out, bracing for the next task in this relentless day, wishing for a snooze button and a less pious afternoon. You're shuffling out of the chapel, the priest's Latin drone and those relentless bells. Remember that prayer panic, still ringing in your ears as you step back into the muddy village, the air sharp with wood smoke and the tang of overripe produce. Your knees ache from kneeling, your stomach's growling louder than the market's bustle, and your bare feet are numb from the cold stone floor. Now, you're diving into the chaos of the village market, bartering for a scrap of cheese or a turnip with nothing but a handful of grain and some desperate charm. It's the 14th century, and you're a peasant, haggling like your life depends on it, because it kind of does. Historians say medieval markets were the heartbeat of village life, where peasants traded goods under strict feudal oversight, often using barter since coins were scarce for the poor. You're weaving through stalls, dodging a cart of squealing pigs, the air alive with shouts, vendors hawking bread, a fishmonger waving a questionable cod. You've got a small sack of barley from your fieldwork, hoping to swap it for something edible. The cheese stall's your target, but the seller, a wiry woman with a scowl, drives a hard bargain. Ever try bartering at a flea market with no cash? It's like negotiating with a poker-faced shark. Here's the quirky bit. Some traders toss salt over their shoulder during a deal, believing it sealed the bargain's luck. You're sprinkling a pinch now, half joking, hoping it softens the cheese lady's glare. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a way to flaunt precious salt. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone salting a swap with #medieval market magic vibes. The market's noisy, a mix of clinking pots and haggling voices, the smell of fresh bread making your mouth water. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses, trading sewing tips in their cosy karmak, and how their bartering feels warmer than this cutthroat chaos. The cheese lady's eyeing your barley, offering a sliver of hard cheese, barely enough for a meal. You're arguing, gesturing wildly, but she's unmoved and you're stuck taking the deal. Those Parisian bakers haggled under guild rules, but here, it's survival, no safety net. You're clutching the cheese, dodging a kid swiping apples, wondering if you'll eat tonight. The market's energy is draining, each shout and shove pulling you deeper into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay sharp. Thieves lurk, and your barley's all you've got left. Ever haggle while half asleep? It's like arguing with a telemarketer at midnight. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Market Madness. The church bell tolls again, a reminder of the day's grind, and you're bracing for what's next, wishing for a supermarket and a nap. You're weaving out of the market the measly sliver of cheese, one after that salty haggle, remember? Tucked into your tunic, the village's muddy streets sucking at your bare feet. The air's thick with the stench of fish and sweat. The market's shouts fading behind you, your stomach still growling despite the promise of a bite. Now you're facing the grim prospect of medieval medicine, limping toward a barber surgeon's shop because a nagging toothache's got you wincing with every step. It's the 14th century, and you're about to endure a treatment that makes the outhouse seem like a spa. Historians say medieval healthcare often fell to barber surgeons, who handled everything from haircuts to bloodletting, with little understanding of hygiene or anatomy. You're at the shop now, a cramped room smelling of stale herbs and something metallic. The surgeon sharpening a blade that looks more suited for butchering. He's eyeing your tooth, muttering about bad humours, and you're sweating, spotting a jar of leeches on the shelf. He's suggesting pulling the tooth or slapping a leech on your gum. Neither sounds fun. Ever face a dentist with no anaesthesia? It's like fixing a car with a hammer. Here's the quirky bit. Some believed a tooth pulled under a full moon healed faster, so you're half hoping it's lunar approved tonight. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a way to distract from the pain. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone moon-gazing before a dental visit, with hashtag medieval tooth hack vibes. The shop's dim, lit by a single candle, the air heavy with the tang of blood and vinegar making you queasy. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses stitching warm kamiks in their karmak, and how you'd trade this leech jar for their cosy craft any day. The surgeon's ready, his pliers glinting, and you're gripping the chair, bracing for pain. Those Parisian bakers dodged guild spies. But here, you're dodging infection, with no antibiotics in sight. You're praying for a quick yank, but the leeches are still an option. Their slimy wiggle making you shudder. You're regretting that market cheese already. The surgeon's muttering prayers. Great, now God's involved. And you're yawning. The shop's warmth and your nerves pulling you into a sleepy haze. But there's no dozing through this. Ever try staying calm while someone brandishes pliers? It's like watching a horror movie. But you're the star. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Dentist Disaster. The village hums outside, bells toll, a cart creaks, and you're bracing for the inevitable tug, wishing for ibuprofen and a soft pillow to end this brutal day. You're staggering away from the barber surgeon's shop, your jaw throbbing from that tooth-pulling ordeal. Thankfully no leeches, but the moonlit healing charm didn't help much. The medieval village's muddy streets squelch under your bare feet, the air heavy with night's chill and the faint reek of manure from those filthy paths you trudged earlier. Now you're squeezing into your crowded, smoky hovel, a one-room shack where you'll try to sleep among family fleas and a fire that's more haze than heat. It's the 14th century, and you're learning that cosy isn't a medieval concept. Historians say most peasants lived in cramped single-room homes, often shared with family and livestock, with poor ventilation making smoke a constant companion. You're ducking under the low-thatched roof, the air thick with soot from a central fire stinging your eyes. The floor's packed dirt, scattered with straw that's more itch than comfort, and you're sharing it with your wife, 2 kids, and a goat that won't stop bleating. The walls just wattle and daub, let in drafts, and you're shivering in your thin tunic, longing for a blanket. Here's the quirky bit. Some families hung a dried apple above the door, believing it kept bad spirits out of the hovel. You're eyeing one now, shriveled and sad, wondering if it's why the goat's still alive. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a way to use up spoiled fruit. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone dangling an apple in their apartment with number medieval home security vibes. The fire's crackle mixes with the kids' snores, the smoke curling like a foggy nightmare. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses stitching in their warm karmak and how their fur-lined shelters sound like paradise compared to this drafty mess. The guild's rules from that Parisian baker's tale. They'd be a breeze compared to sharing a bed with fleas and a goat. You're curling up on the straw, the ground hard against your aching back. The toothaches throb, a dull reminder of the day's grind. Ever try sleeping in a room that's half sauna, half zoo? It's like camping with no tent and worse roommates. The hovel's noisy, wind whistles, the goat chews something, and your wife mutters in her sleep. You're yawning, the smoke and exhaustion pulling you into a sleepy haze, but rest feels like a luxury you can't afford. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Hovel Snooze Struggles. The village outside is quiet, save for a distant dog's bark, and you're bracing for tomorrow's toil, wishing for a mattress and a day without pain. You're stirring in the smoky hovel, the straw beneath you prickling your skin, that dried apple swinging faintly above the door, supposedly keeping spirits at bay, but not the fleas biting your ankles. The fire's embers glow weakly, the air thick with soot and the sour whiff of the goat sleeping nearby. Your tooth's dull throb, a grim reminder of the barber surgeon's pliers. Now, you're navigating a world ruled by superstition, where every shadow and sneeze feels like an omen dictating your 14th century peasant life. It's morning, and you're stepping into the muddy village, eyeing the sky for signs of bad luck. Historians say medieval life was steeped in superstition, with peasants interpreting natural events like storms or sick livestock as divine or supernatural messages. You're trudging to the fields, noticing a black cat dart across your path, and your heart skips. Everyone knows that's trouble. You're tossing a pebble over your shoulder, a trick the village granny swears cancels the curse. The air's damp, smelling of wet earth and manure from those filthy streets, and you're scanning for more omens, a crooked tree, a crow's caw, anything that might spell doom for your crops. Here's the quirky bit. Some believed wearing your tunic inside out warded off evil spirits, so you're flipping yours now, looking ridiculous but desperate for luck. Historians still argue whether this was genuine belief or a way to cope with constant uncertainty. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone rocking an inside-out shirt with number medieval luck hack vibes. The village hums, carts creak, a woman shouts at her chickens, and you're feeling every glance, wondering if someone's reading your flipped tunic as a sign. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses, sewing under auroras with their own rituals, like that fox hair for luck, and how their beliefs feel warmer than this paranoid village vibe. Those Parisian bakers dodged guild spies, but here you're dodging invisible curses, each step a gamble. You're passing a shrine, tossing a crust from yesterday's market cheese to appease whatever's watching. Ever make a choice because it feels off otherwise? It's like avoiding a cracked sidewalk but with higher stakes. The field's waiting, the overseer's stick ready, but you're pausing to check the clouds. No storm, good sign. You're yawning, the early hour and the weight of omens pulling you into a sleepy haze, but there's no slacking when fate's supposedly watching. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Dodging Medieval Superstitions. The church bell tolls, a reminder of prayers you can't skip, and you're bracing for another day of toil, wishing for a world where a cat's just a cat and sleep comes easy. You're trudging through the muddy village, your inside-out tunic, flipped to ward off that black cat's curse, remember? Chafing your skin as you dodge puddles and suspicious glances. The air's heavy with damp straw and the faint clang of a smithy. Your bare feet numb from the cold muck. Every step a reminder of those omens you're trying to outrun. Now you're facing the tax collector, a grim figure who's come to squeeze every last grain from your meagre stores, his ledger a death sentence for your 14th century peasant hopes. It's midday, and you're standing in your hovel's doorway, heart pounding, clutching a sack of barley. Historians say medieval peasants faced heavy taxes, often paying 1/10 of their crops to the church and more to their feudal lord, leaving little for survival. You're eyeing the collector, a gaunt man with a quill and a sneer, tallying your harvest like he's judging your soul. He's demanding half your barley, half, plus a chicken you can't spare. The hovel's smoky, the goat bleating in the corner, and you're stammering, offering a smaller sack, but he's unmoved, his quill scratching like a countdown. Ever try negotiating with someone who holds all the cards? It's like arguing with a parking ticket bot. Here's the quirky bit. Some peasants hid grain under their floorboards, believing a sprig of rosemary tucked with it fooled the collector's evil eye. You're wishing you'd tried it, but your barley's out in the open. No rosemary in sight. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a sneaky tax dodge. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone stashing groceries with hashtag medieval tax hack vibes. The air's thick, the collector's breath sour, making you wince as he looms closer. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses bartering in their karmak without this kind of extortion, and how you'd trade this hovel for their cosy crafts. Those Parisian bakers faced guild fines, but this collector's worse. His demands a blade at your throat. You're handing over the barley, the sack lighter than your heart, knowing it's gruel for weeks now. The kids watch silent, and you're hating the Lord's manor more than ever, its stone walls mocking your poverty. The collector leaves, his cart creaking, and you're slumping against the wall, yawning, the stress and the smoky hovel pulling you into a sleepy haze. Ever lose a fight you couldn't win? It's like watching your paycheck vanish to bills, but hungrier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Taxman Takedown. The village hums outside, bells toll, a dog barks, and you're bracing for the next blow, wishing for a loophole and a nap to forget this brutal day. You're slumped in your hovel's doorway, the weight of that tax collector's visit, half your barley gone, no rosemary trick to save you, pressing on your chest like a stone. The medieval village stirs beyond the muddy streets, the air sharp with wood smoke and the faint reek of the muck you've trudged through all day, your bare feet still gritty. Now you're venturing into the village alehouse, a rowdy den where a mug of watery ale might dull your woes, but danger lurks in every drunken glare. It's the 14th century, and you're stepping into a haze of sweat, spilled drink and trouble waiting to spark. Historians say alehouses were social hubs for medieval peasants, offering cheap ale but also breeding brawls and petty crime, especially in tough times. You're pushing through the door, the air thick with the sour tang of fermented barley and unwashed bodies, the room lit by flickering rushlights. Men crowd the benches, shouting over a fiddler's shaky tune, while a barmaid dodges groping hands. You're clutching a copper coin, all you've got left after the taxman, hoping for a small mug. Ever walk into a bar where everyone's looking for a fight? It's like stepping into a reality show with no script. Here's the quirky bit. Some believed spilling ale on the floor appeased thirsty spirits, so you're tipping a drop, half hoping it keeps the drunk next to you calm. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or an excuse to be sloppy. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone splashing beer with #medieval bar vibes. The alehouse is loud, a mix of slurred songs and dice games, the air warm but heavy, making your eyes sting. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses sharing stories in their cosy karmak and how their circle feels safer than this den of chaos. Those Parisian bakers dodged guild spies, but here, you're dodging fists. One wrong look, and you're in a brawl you can't win. The ale's weak, barely worth the coin, but it's something. Its bitter taste a small comfort. You're keeping your head down, avoiding a burly man arguing over a lost bet, his knife glinting ominously. The fiddler's tune falters, and you're yawning, the alehouse's heat and the day's grind pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay alert. Trouble's never far. Ever try relaxing in a place that's one spark from a riot? It's like chilling at a party where the cops might crash. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Surviving the Medieval Alehouse. The church bell tolls faintly, a reminder of tomorrow's toil, and you're bracing for the walk home, wishing for a quiet night and a dreamless sleep. You're stumbling out the alehouse, the weak ale's bitter taste lingering on your tongue, that spilled drop for thirsty spirits doing nothing to calm the rowdy crowd you barely escaped. The medieval village is dark now, the muddy streets slick under your bare feet, the air chilly with the scent of damp straw and distant fires. Now, you're gripped by the paranoia of a witch hunt, the village buzzing with whispers of sorcery, where a wrong word could mark you as the devil's own. It's the 14th century and you're hurrying home, eyes darting, fearing an accusation in this fear-soaked world. Historians say witch hunts spiked in medieval Europe, especially during crises, with villagers quick to blame neighbours for bad harvests or sick livestock. You're passing a cottage, its shutters tight, but you hear murmurs about old Meg, a healer whose herbs cured your toothache. Now she's called a witch. You're clutching your tunic, remembering that inside-out superstition, hoping it doesn't make you look suspicious. The village feels alive with eyes, every shadow a potential informer ready to point fingers. Ever feel like everyone's judging your every move? It's like posting online and waiting for the hate comments. Here's the quirky bit. Some believed tying a red thread around your wrist kept witches' curses at bay, so you're knotting a scrap now, feeling foolish, but desperate. Historians still argue whether this was pure superstition or a way to signal loyalty to the church. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone flaunting a red bracelet with hashtag witch-proof vibes. The air's cold, the village quiet save for a dog's bark, but the silence feels heavy, like it's hiding accusations. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses stitching under auroras with their own myths, like that fox hair for luck, and how their stories feel warmer than this village's dread. Those Parisian bakers dodged guild spies, but here you're dodging zealots, one rumour away from a trial. You're avoiding Meg's cottage, her herb garden now a proof of devilry, wondering if your market haggling made anyone suspicious. The church looms, its bell silent but judging, and you're praying no one saw you skip a prayer. You're yawning, the late hour and the paranoia pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you can't relax. Eyes are everywhere. Ever try sleeping when you're scared of being blamed? It's like dozing off during a horror movie expecting a jump scare. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Dodging Medieval Witch Hunts. The hovel's close, its smoky warmth calling, and you're bracing for another day, wishing for a world without whispers and a soft bed to ease your fears. You're scurrying toward your hovel, the red thread tied around your wrist, your flimsy guard against those witch hunt whispers, rubbing your skin as you dodge the village's muddy shadows, the fear of old Meg's accusation still making your pulse race. The night air bites, carrying the scent of wet earth and faint smoke, your bare feet numb from the cold muck. Now, you're swept into a rare moment of relief, the village festival, a chaotic burst of medieval merriment with dancing, food and fleeting joy. It's the 14th century and you're in the square, the glow of bonfires and laughter a brief escape from the day's grim grind. Historians say medieval festivals, often tied to harvest or saints' days, were rare chances for peasants to celebrate, with music, games and slightly better food than your usual gruel. You're in the thick of it, the square alive with fiddlers scraping tunes, kids chasing a greased pig, and a juggler tossing apples, badly. You're munching a skewer of roasted turnip, a treat after that market cheese, the warmth spreading through your chest. The air's rich with sizzling fat and ale, a stark contrast to the outhouse's stench. Ever crash a party after a brutal day? It's like hitting a fair after a double shift, pure chaos but sweet. Here's the quirky bit. Some believe dancing in a circle under a festival moon brought good harvests, so you're joining a clumsy ring, stepping to the fiddle's wail. Historians still argue whether this was pagan holdover or just an excuse to party. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone spinning at a Ren fair with number medieval moon dance vibes. The bonfire's heat licks your face, the crowd's shouts drowning out the witch hunt's whispers. At least for now, you're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses, sharing stories in their karmak, and how their sewing circles feel calmer than this drunken revelry. Those Parisian bakers had their bread festivals, but this is wilder, with ale-soaked peasants and no guild spies to dodge. You're keeping clear of the rowdier drunks. Memories of the alehouse brawl keep you sharp, savouring the turnip's smoky bite. The festival's a rare gift, but you're wary, a wrong step, and you're back in the witch hunt's crosshairs. The fiddle screeches, and you're yawning, the fire's warmth and the day's toll pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you're dancing, clinging to this fleeting joy. Ever party when you're bone-tired? It's like clubbing after a marathon, but you can't stop. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Medieval Festival Frenzy. The church bell tolls faintly, a reminder of tomorrow's grind, and you're bracing for the night's end, wishing for another skewer and a soft place to crash. You're swaying in the festival's fading glow, the bonfire's embers crackling as the moonlit dance. Remember that harvest blessing circle, winds down, the taste of roasted turnip lingering on your tongue. The medieval village settles into a chilly hush, the muddy streets glinting under starlight, your bare feet sore from dancing and slogging through muck. Now, you're facing the grim shadow of the plague, its ever-present threat hanging over every cough and crowded hovel. A reminder that survival in the 14th century is a daily gamble. You're trudging home, the air sharp with frost and fear, eyes scanning for signs of sickness. Historians say the Black Death, peaking in the 1340s, killed millions across Europe, with villages like yours hit hard by poor sanitation and packed living conditions. You're passing a cottage with a red cross painted on the door, a plague house, sealed shut, the family inside left to die or recover. You're quickening your pace, clutching your tunic, the red thread from that witch hunt scare still on your wrist, now a flimsy charm against disease. The village is quiet, but every sniffle feels like a warning, and you're wondering if the festival's crowd was a mistake. Ever avoid someone with a cold like they're radioactive? It's like that, but with higher stakes. Here's the quirky bit. Some believed carrying a posy of lavender warded off plague miasmas, so you're gripping a wilted sprig, its faint scent barely cutting through the manure stink. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a crude attempt at hygiene. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone waving lavender at a flu bug with #plagueposy vibes. The air's cold, the hovel's smoky warmth calling, but you're dreading the cramped space where germs could lurk. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses stitching in their karmak far from this disease-ridden chaos, and how their clean snow seems safer than your plague-haunted village. Those Parisian bakers dodged guild spies, but here you're dodging death itself with no medicine beyond prayers and posies. You're avoiding a man coughing by the well, his hacker death knell in your ears. The church's bells are silent now, but their daily tolls for the dead echo in your memory, each one a reminder of your fragile life. You're yawning, the late hour and the weight of fear pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you can't relax. Every shadow hides a threat. Ever try sleeping when danger feels so close? It's like dozing off during a storm expecting a crash. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled "Dodging the Medieval Plague." The hovel's close, its goat and fleas waiting, and you're bracing for another day, wishing for a mask and a world without this constant dread. You're shuffling toward your hovel, the plague's grim shadow, those red-crossed doors and that lavender posy, remember, weighing heavy as you dodge a coughing shadow in the medieval village's muddy streets. The night air's sharp with frost, the faint smoke from dying festival fires mixing with the ever-present stench of manure, your bare feet aching from a day of toil and fear. Now you're reflecting on surviving just one day in this brutal 14th century world, each hardship, gruel, outhouses, witch hunts, a test you've barely passed. It's late, and you're collapsing onto the hovel's straw, the smoky warmth of frail comfort, wondering how anyone endures this life. Historians say medieval peasant life was a relentless cycle of labour, faith and survival, with most never living past 40 due to disease, malnutrition and hardship. You're sprawled on the dirt floor, the goat bleating nearby, your body sore from fieldwork, your jaw still throbbing from that barber surgeon's yank. The day's toll, mud, taxes, omens, plague dread, feels like a marathon you stumbled through. Each moment a reminder of your fragile place in this world. You're clutching the red thread on your wrist, a faint echo of superstition, grateful to be alive, if only just. Ever make it through a day that felt like a gauntlet? It's like surviving a reality show with no prize. Here's the quirky bit. Some peasants mark their door with a chalk circle after a tough day, believing it sealed their survival for another. You're sketching one now, your finger shaky, hoping it buys you tomorrow. Historians still argue whether this was a ritual or just a way to feel in control. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone chalking their door with number sign medieval survivor vibes. The hovel's smoky, the fire's embers a faint glow, the air heavy with straw and exhaustion. You're thinking of those Inuit seamstresses stitching cosy parkas in their karmak, and how their craft feels like love compared to this grind. Those Parisian bakers faced guild rules, but your day, mud, leeches, plague, makes their bread wars seem quaint. You're alive though. The festival's turnip and ale a small victory, the hovel's warmth a fragile shield. The kids snore, the goat chews, and you're yawning, the weight of survival pulling you into a sleepy haze, your chalk circle a quiet hope for dawn. And now, as the hovel's embers fade, the village settles into a gentle hush, the muddy streets quiet under a starlit sky. You sink into the straw, its itch a familiar cradle, the day's chaos, bells, fields, fears, slipping away like a slow tide. The medieval world, so harsh and heavy, softens in this moment, its dangers dimming as your breath slows. The goat's soft bleat a distant lullaby. Picture yourself now wrapped in the hovel's smoky warmth, the stars above whispering of rest. Let the village's hum fade, the cold night cradle you, and drift into a dream where the mud is gone, the bell silent. Sleep well, peasant. You've earned it. Now we will continue with lost cities of the Amazon's quiet corners. You're trekking through the Amazon's dense rainforest, the canopy so thick it's like walking under a green ceiling, sunlight barely sneaking through. Historians say the Amazon wasn't just a wilderness. Ancient civilizations thrived here, building cities long before Europeans arrived, hidden by the jungle's relentless growth. Your boots sink into the damp earth, the air heavy with the scent of wet leaves and rotting wood. You're dodging roots that twist like snakes, each step a gamble against tripping or worse. Maybe a real snake. The jungle's alive, a chorus of chirps and rustles, and you're already wishing for a GPS. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believed certain trees whispered warnings to travellers, so you're half listening for a chatty trunk just in case. Historians still argue whether this was folklore or a way to navigate the forest dangers. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone hugging a tree for directions with hashtag Amazon Whispers vibes. The humidity's suffocating. Your tunic. Okay, let's be real. It's a t-shirt, soaked through, making you long for air conditioning. You're thinking of those medieval peasants slogging through muddy streets, and how this jungle's chaos makes their village seem tame. Your machete hacks at a vine, the blades thud rhythmic, but the path's endless, and you're starting to wonder if these lost cities are just myths. Ever try hiking somewhere that feels like it's fighting you? It's like a treadmill set to nightmare mode. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Jungle Trekking Fails. The forest's hum, the distant call of a howler monkey. It's pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep moving. Something ancient's waiting in these quiet corners. You're still hacking through the Amazon's dense rainforest. The sting of sweat and that whispering tree folklore. Remember that chatty trunk, lingering as you push past vines, the jungle's green grip tightening around you. The air's thick with humidity, smelling of damp earth and sweet decay. Your boots squelching in the mud, every step a reminder of the medieval village's muck you left behind. Now you're stumbling upon ancient stone structures, their mossy ruins peeking through the foliage like ghosts of a lost Amazonian city. It's deep in the jungle's heart, and you're brushing dirt from a carved slab, the weight of centuries under your fingertips. Historians say archaeological discoveries, like those in Bolivia's Llanos de Moxos, reveal sophisticated Amazonian societies with stone architecture dating back over 1,000 years. You're crouching by a low wall, its stones fitted without mortar, precise despite the jungle's chaos. Lianas drape over it, roots cracking the edges, but the structure's stubborn, refusing to vanish. You're tracing a faint glyph, a spiral, maybe a sun, wondering who carved it and why. The forest hums, birds flitting above, and you're half expecting a jaguar to slink by. But it's just you and these silent stones. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals claim these ruins glow faintly under a full moon, a sign of spirits guarding the city. You're glancing at the canopy, wishing for moonlight to test the tale, but it's midday, and you're stuck with sweat instead. Historians still argue whether this was myth or a trick of phosphorescent moss. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone filming glowing rocks with hashtag Amazon ghost vibes. The air's heavy, the scent of moss and mud mixing with your own exhaustion, making you dizzy. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, toiling under feudal lords, and how these builders crafted cities without whips or guilds, unlike those Parisian bakers. Your machete rests by your side. The stones cool under your palms, each one a puzzle piece of a vanished world. Ever touch something so old it feels alive? It's like holding a grandparent's heirloom but heavier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Finding Amazon's Lost Ruins. The jungle's relentless. Ants march across the stone, a monkey screeches, and you're yawning, the heat and the ruins' mystery pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep exploring. Something's waiting deeper in these quiet corners. You're still crouched by those mossy stone ruins, the spiral glyph you traced, maybe a sun, maybe something else, still tingling under your fingertips, the Amazon's humid air wrapping you like a damp cloak. The jungle's pulse, with its bird calls and rustling leaves, hums around you, the scent of earth and decay sharper now as you shift through the undergrowth. Now, you're finding pottery shards scattered in the dirt, their chipped edges whispering of the vanished lives that once filled this lost city. It's centuries ago in the Amazon's quiet corners, and you're piecing together fragments like a detective in a green labyrinth. Historians say ceramic artifacts, found across sites like Brazil's Santarém region, show Amazonian cultures crafted intricate pottery for daily and ritual use, dating back to at least 1000 CE. You're holding a shard, its surface painted with red and black swirls, the clay surprisingly light. It's broken, maybe part of a bowl or jug, and you're brushing off dirt, imagining someone drinking from it long ago. The jungle's alive. Ants scurry over your boots, a parrot squawks overhead, and you're careful not to crush more pieces underfoot. Each shard feels like a clue, a snapshot of a life you'll never know. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe pottery shards carry the maker's spirit, so you're handling this one gently, half expecting it to hum with ancient vibes. Historians still argue whether this was spiritual reverence or just respect for craftsmanship. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone cradling a shard with hashtag Amazon Soulpot vibes. The air's thick, the humidity making your shirt cling, the scent of wet clay mixing with the jungle's green tang, pulling you deeper into the mystery. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, scraping by with crude wooden bowls, and how these Amazonians crafted art while surviving this wild forest. Your machete's nearby, but you're using your hands now, sifting through soil for more fragments, each one a tiny rebellion against the jungle's erasure. Ever try solving a puzzle with half the pieces missing? It's like assembling IKEA furniture without instructions. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Pottery Hunting in the Amazon. The forest's relentless. Vines snag your arms, a mosquito buzzes, and you're yawning, the heat and the shard's secrets pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep searching. These quiet corners hold more stories, waiting to be uncovered. You're still sifting through the Amazon's damp soil. The pottery shard with its red-black swirls, maybe a bowl, maybe a spirit's home, tucked safely in your pack, the jungle's green pulse throbbing around you. The air's heavy with the scent of wet leaves and clay, the buzz of insects a constant hum, your boots sinking into the muck as you push toward the riverbank. Now, you're paddling a canoe along a sluggish Amazonian river, its dark waters hiding remnants of riverside settlements, lost cities that once thrived in these quiet corners. It's centuries ago, and you're gliding past tangled roots, eyes scanning for signs of ancient life. Historians say archaeological sites along rivers like the Xingu reveal Amazonian communities built settlements near water for trade and fishing, with evidence of villages dating back to 500 CE. You're gripping the paddle, the river's current gentle but deceptive, guiding your canoe past overhanging branches. On the bank you spot a low mound, unnatural, too regular, covered in vines. It's a platform, maybe for a house or market, its edges softened by time. The water's murky, reflecting the canopy's green, and you're half expecting a caiman to surface, but it's just you, the river, and these ghosts of a city. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals say river spirits guard these ruins, so you're tossing a leaf into the water as an offering just in case. Historians still argue whether this was ritual or a way to mark territory. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone yeeting leaves into a stream with hashtag river spirit vibes. The humidity's relentless, your shirt soaked, the air thick with the fishy tang of the river making you dizzy. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, bound to muddy fields, and how these Amazonians built lives around rivers, free from feudal lords, unlike those Parisian bakers dodging guild spies. Your paddle dips rhythmically, each stroke a question. Who lived here? The mound's vines hide more clues, maybe pottery like your shard, but landing's tricky with the bank's slippery mud. Ever try steering a boat in a jungle? It's like parallel parking in a swamp. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Canoeing Amazon's Lost Cities. The jungle's alive, monkeys chatter, water laps, and you're yawning, the heat and the river's sway pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep paddling. These riverside ruins hold secrets, waiting in the Amazon's quiet corners. You're still gliding along the Amazon's sluggish river, the paddle's rhythm steady despite that leaf you tossed for river spirits, lulling you as the mound on the bank, a hint of a lost settlement, fades behind a curtain of vines. The air's thick with the fishy tang of water and the sweet rot of jungle decay. Your canoe cutting through the murky surface, the canopy's green glow reflecting like a dream. Now you're exploring intricate terraced earthworks, massive platforms sculpted into the jungle's floor. Their shapes a puzzle of ancient Amazonian engineering. It's centuries ago, and you're scrambling ashore, boots sinking into mud to trace these quiet corners' forgotten designs. Historians say earthworks, like those in Bolivia's Beni region, show Amazonian societies' reshaped landscapes with terraces and mounds for farming and living, some dating back to 200 BCE. You're standing on a raised platform, its edges precise despite the jungle's sprawl, vines snaking across like green veins. The terrace stretches wide, maybe for crops or houses, its scale humbling. Hundreds must have laboured here. You're brushing away leaves, uncovering packed earth, imagining fields of manioc or maize. The jungle hums, frogs croak, a macaw screeches, and you're wary of snakes. But the earthwork's mystery pulls you in. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe these terraces were built to please the sky, aligning with stars for good harvests. You're squinting at the canopy, half wishing for a starry night to test the theory. But it's daytime, and you're stuck with clouds. Historians still argue whether this was astronomy or just practical landscaping. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone mapping stars over dirt with #Amazon star vibes. The air's heavy, your skin slick with sweat, the scent of soil and greenery thick, making you lightheaded. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, toiling under feudal whips, and how these Amazonians sculpted the land without lords, unlike those Parisian bakers bound by guild rules. Your machete clears a path, the terrace's edges sharper now, each step revealing more of its purpose. Ever walk on something that feels like history itself? It's like stepping on a Roman road, but muddier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon's Terrace Treasures. The jungle's relentless, mosquitoes buzz, roots trip you, and you're yawning, the heat and the earthwork's enigma pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep exploring. These quiet corners hold more secrets, carved into the Amazon's ancient earth. You're still standing on the terraced earthwork. It's packed earth, maybe aligned with stars, remember that sky-pleasing tale, solid under your muddy boots, the Amazon's humid air thick with the scent of soil and the jungle's green pulse. The river's murmur, where you paddled past that vine-draped mound, fades behind the canopy's rustle, insects buzzing like a distant choir. Now, you're grappling with the myth of El Dorado, the legendary golden city said to shimmer in these jungles, its allure fading as you question its truth among these quiet corners. It's centuries ago, and you're sifting through the undergrowth, chasing whispers of gold that feel more like a fever dream. Historians say the El Dorado legend, born from Spanish conquistadors' tales in the 16th century, likely stemmed from real Amazonian wealth, perhaps trade goods or rituals, exaggerated into a myth of endless gold. You're crouching by a stream, its waters glinting but offering only pebbles, no nuggets. The jungle's dense, vines tangling your machete, and you're picturing conquistadors hacking through, driven mad by greed. The terraces you just left suggest prosperity. Cities, not gold palaces, but no glittering kingdom greets you, just mud and roots. The air's alive with bird calls and monkeys' chatter mocking your empty hands. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals swore gold dust was sprinkled in streams to lure spirits, not men, a ritual you're half tempted to try with a handful of dirt. Historians still argue whether this was symbolic or a misunderstanding that fueled El Dorado's myth. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone tossing glitter into a creek with number El Dorado prank vibes. The humidity's crushing, your shirt a second skin, the stream's cool mist a fleeting relief against the jungle's heat. You're thinking of those medieval peasants bound by feudal taxes, and how this myth's promise of riches feels worlds away from their gruel, or even those Parisian bakers' guild finds. Your machete clears a path, but the jungle's stubborn, and you're wondering if El Dorado was just a story to keep hope alive. Ever chase a dream that felt too good to be true? It's like hunting for a sale that's already sold out. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Chasing El Dorado's Ghost. The forest's relentless, ants march, a branch snaps, and you're yawning, the heat and the myth's weight pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep moving. These quiet corners hold truths, not gold, waiting to be uncovered. You're still trudging through the Amazon's tangled depths, the El Dorado myth, those fleeting dreams of gold dust and stream spirits, fading like mist as you push past vines. The stream's glint now just a memory. The jungle's air is heavy, thick with the scent of wet earth and blooming orchids, your boots sinking into the mulch, each step echoing the pottery shards you found earlier. Now you're uncovering signs of ancient Amazonian agriculture, fields and orchards that fed lost cities in these quiet corners. It's centuries ago, and you're brushing leaves from a raised bed, the soil's dark richness a clue to a vanished people's ingenuity. Historians say archaeological evidence, like terra preta, fertile black earth, in Brazil's Amazonas state, shows Amazonian societies practiced advanced farming, sustaining large populations before 1492. You're kneeling by a patch of this dark soil, its texture almost velvety, unlike the surrounding clay. It's man-made, enriched with charcoal and bone, a recipe that kept crops thriving in the jungle's poor dirt. You're picturing manioc roots, maize stalks, maybe fruit trees, all feeding a bustling city. The jungle hums, cicadas drone, a toucan calls, and you're wary of stepping on a hidden root or worse. But the soil story pulls you in. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe planting a seed under moonlight blessed the harvest, so you're half tempted to bury a pebble, just to see. Historians still argue whether this was ritual or a way to track planting seasons. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone sowing seeds by moonshine with hashtag Amazon Farm Magic vibes. The air's steamy, your skin slick with sweat, the scent of rich earth and greenery making you dizzy, like you're breathing history. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, toiling in feudal fields, and how these Amazonians farmed without lords. Their terra preta a quiet rebellion against the jungle's limits, unlike those Parisian bakers bound by guild rules. Your machete rests nearby, your hands sifting soil, each handful a testament to a lost science. Ever dig into something that feels like a secret? It's like finding a hidden recipe in a grandparent's book. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon's Ancient Farms. The jungle's relentless. Mosquitoes swarm, a branch creaks, and you're yawning, the heat and the soil's mystery pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to keep exploring. These quiet corners hold more clues to the Amazon's lost abundance. You're still kneeling in the Amazon's rich terra preta, the dark soil, packed with ancient farmers' secrets, like that moonlight planting trick, crumbling softly in your hands, the jungle's humid air thick with the scent of earth and faint fruit blossoms. The buzz of cicadas and the rustle of leaves surround you, a reminder of the river settlements and their quiet pulse, your machete glinting nearby in the dappled light. Now you're tracing trade routes, ancient pathways that linked lost Amazonian communities, their faint lines weaving through these quiet corners like threads in a hidden tapestry. It's centuries ago, and you're following a barely there trail, boots crunching on packed earth, eyes scanning for signs of connection. Historians say archaeological finds, like those along the Madeira River, suggest Amazonian societies maintained trade networks, exchanging goods like pottery and fish across vast distances before 1000 CE. You're walking a narrow path, its edges worn but stubborn, marked by occasional stone markers half swallowed by roots. The trail's subtle, but it's there, maybe leading to a market or a sister village. You're picturing traders hauling baskets of manioc like the crops from your terra preta, or those painted pottery shards you found. Their swirls a currency of craft. The jungle's alive. Monkeys hoot, water drips, and you're dodging vines, wary of losing the path. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe traders left small shells along routes as thank yous to forest spirits. So you're dropping a pebble, half joking, hoping it keeps you on track. Historians still argue whether this was ritual or a practical marker system. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone scattering shells on a hike with hashtag Amazon trade vibes. The air's heavy, your shirt soaked, the scent of moss and mud mixing with the jungle's green tang, making you lightheaded. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, bound to feudal villages, and how these Amazonians roamed freely, unlike those Parisian bakers dodging guild spies. Your hands brush a marker stone, its surface smooth, a silent guide through the forest. Ever follow a trail that feels like a secret handshake? It's like finding a backroad shortcut only locals know. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon's Trade Route Trek. The jungle's relentless. Ants march, a branch snaps, and you're yawning, the heat and the path's mystery pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to keep walking. These quiet corners hold more links to the Amazon's lost worlds. You're still treading the faint trade route, the pebble you dropped. Your nod to those shell-scattering traders, lost in the undergrowth, the Amazon's humid air thick with the scent of moss and the jungle's green pulse. The path's stone markers, half-eaten by roots, guide you past the terra preta's fertile promise. The river's distant murmur a quiet echo of ancient commerce. Now you're stumbling upon ritual sites, sacred spaces carved into the jungle, their eerie stillness a testament to the spiritual lives of these lost cities' people. It's centuries ago, and you're standing in a clearing, heart pounding, as you trace the outlines of a ceremonial circle in these quiet corners. Historians say archaeological discoveries, like those in Peru's Alto Purus region, reveal Amazonian societies built ritual sites, often with stone circles or platforms, for ceremonies tied to harvests or ancestors, dating back to 500 CE. You're circling a low stone platform, its edges worn but deliberate, moss softening its curves. In the centre, a shallow pit holds charred wood, maybe an offering fire. The jungle's quieter here, as if holding its breath, the air heavy with damp earth and a faint sweet decay. You're brushing leaves aside, uncovering a small carved stone, its shape vaguely human, staring blankly into the canopy. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals claim these sites hum at dawn, a sound only the pure can hear, so you're half tempted to camp out and test your ears. Historians still argue whether this was myth or a trick of wind through the stones. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone recording jungle hums with #Amazon ritual vibes. The humidity's oppressive, your skin's slick, the scent of charred wood and greenery pulling you deeper into the site's mystery. You're thinking of those medieval peasants praying under church bells, and how these Amazonians worshipped without stone cathedrals, unlike those Parisian bakers bound by guild prayers. Your machetes sheathed, your hands gentle on the carved stone, its weight a connection to forgotten rites. Ever stand somewhere that feels haunted by meaning? It's like visiting a graveyard, but wilder. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon Sacred Sites Spook. The jungle's alive, ants scurry, a bird flits, and you're yawning, the heat and the site's eerie calm pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep exploring. These quiet corners hold more secrets, sacred and silent. You're still lingering in the ritual site's eerie clearing, the carved stone's blank gaze, maybe an ancestor, maybe a spirit, still heavy in your hand, the Amazon's humid air thick with the scent of charred wood and the jungle's green hum. The ceremonial circle's quiet, a stark contrast to the trade route's faint pulse you followed, its stone markers now a distant memory. Now you're piecing together the lives of the Amazon's forgotten inhabitants, their stories woven into the artifacts and ruins of these lost cities' quiet corners. It's centuries ago, and you're sifting through the undergrowth, each find a fragment of a vanished world. Historians say sites like those in Brazil's Acre region show Amazonian societies were complex, with populations in the thousands supporting diverse roles: farmers, artisans, priests, before their decline around 1200 CE. You're crouching by a broken clay figurine, its face half gone but a smile clear, maybe a child's toy or a ritual offering. Nearby, a grinding stone hints at manioc meals, like those grown in the terra preta you dug through. You're imagining a family here, kids laughing, a weaver at work, a shaman chanting under the stars. The jungle's alive, frogs croak, leaves rustle, and you're careful, wary of disturbing more than dirt. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe lost spirits leave tiny knots in vines to mark their presence, so you're eyeing a tangled loop nearby, half convinced it's a sign. Historians still argue whether this was folklore or a way to explain the jungle's chaos. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone untangling vines with #Amazon ghost knots vibes. The air's steamy, your shirt clinging, the scent of damp clay and greenery pulling you deeper into these lives' echoes. You're thinking of those medieval peasants bound by feudal toil, and how these Amazonians lived with more freedom, unlike those Parisian bakers dodging guild spies. Your machetes sheathed, your hands gentle on the figurine, its smile a bridge to someone long gone. Ever find something that feels like a letter from the past? It's like reading a stranger's diary, but muddier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon's Lost Lives. The jungle's relentless. Mosquitoes buzz, a branch snaps, and you're yawning, the heat and the artifact's weight pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep searching. These quiet corners hold more stories, waiting to be told. You're still crouching in the Amazon's dense undergrowth, the clay figurine's faint smile, maybe a toy, maybe an offering, tucked carefully in your pack, its story of ancient lives echoing alongside the ritual site's charred pit you left behind. The jungle's humid air wraps you, thick with the scent of damp earth and sweet decay. The hum of insects and distant monkey calls a constant pulse. Now you're discovering defensive moats, wide ditches carved around ancient settlements, their muddy scars protecting lost cities in these quiet corners. It's centuries ago, and you're tracing a sunken trench, boots slipping in the mire, marvelling at the ingenuity beneath the vines. Historians say archaeological sites, like those in Bolivia's Boers region, reveal Amazonian communities built moats and palisades for defence, some dating back to 300 CE, hinting at conflicts or resource protection. You're standing at the edge of a moat, its width surprising, 10 feet across, deep enough to deter intruders. Vines drape into it, roots twisting like old ropes, but the ditch's shape is clear, circling a raised village site. You're picturing warriors patrolling, maybe guarding the manioc fields you found, their lives as strategic as any medieval knights. The jungle's alive, frogs chirp, a branch creaks, and you're wary of slipping, the mud slick as ice. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe moats trapped bad spirits as well as enemies, so you're tossing a leaf into the ditch, half joking, hoping it keeps ghosts at bay. Historians still argue whether this was spiritual defense or just practical engineering. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone leaf-tossing into a moat with #Amazon Spirit Trap vibes. The air's heavy, your skin slick with sweat, the scent of mud and greenery pulling you deeper into the site's mystery. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, cowering under feudal lords, and how these Amazonians fortified their homes without kings, unlike those Parisian bakers bound by guild rules. Your machete clears a path, the moat's edge sharper now, each step revealing its purpose. Safety, survival. Ever find something that feels like a fortress in the wild? It's like stumbling on a castle, but muddier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon's Moat Mysteries. The jungle's relentless. Mosquitoes swarm, a parrot squawks, and you're yawning, the heat and the moat's silent strength pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to keep exploring. These quiet corners hold more defences waiting to be uncovered. You're still tracing the edge of the ancient moat, its muddy trench, tossed leaf and all, hoping to trap those pesky spirits, stretching like a silent guardian around the lost settlement. The Amazon's humid air thick with the scent of wet earth, and the jungle's green hum, the buzz of insects, and the distant chatter of monkeys echo the lives you glimpse through that clay figurine smile, now safe in your pack. Now, you're exploring a star-shaped village, its strangely geometric layout a baffling masterpiece of Amazonian planning in these quiet corners. It's centuries ago, and you're wandering through a clearing, boots crunching on packed earth, marvelling at the precision beneath the vines. Historians say archaeological sites like those in Brazil's Upper Singu reveal Amazonian villages with radial layouts, some dating to 800 CE, suggesting sophisticated urban planning for social or ceremonial purposes. You're standing in the village's centre, where paths radiate like spokes, each leading to a circular plaza or house mound. The star shape's deliberate, unlike the chaotic jungle around it, with low earthworks marking boundaries. You're picturing families gathering here, maybe for dances like those hinted at in the ritual site's pit, their lives orbiting this design. The jungle's alive, birds flit, a breeze stirs, and you're dodging roots, wary of losing the pattern. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe star-shaped villages mirrored constellations, guiding souls to the sky, so you're squinting at the canopy, half wishing for stars to align. Historians still argue whether this was astronomy or just efficient planning. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone mapping a village to stars with #Amazon Star City vibes. The air's steamy, your shirt's soaked, the scent of soil and greenery pulling you deeper into the village's enigma. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, huddled in cramped hovels, and how these Amazonians crafted order without lords, unlike those Parisian bakers bound by guild rules. Your machete clears a path, the star's spokes clearer now, each one a testament to a lost vision. Ever walk through a place that feels like a blueprint? It's like finding a city grid in the wild. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon Star Village Secrets. The jungle's relentless. Mosquitoes buzz, a twig snaps, and you're yawning, the heat and the layout's mystery pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to keep wandering. These quiet corners hold more wonders waiting to be mapped. You're still wandering the star-shaped village, its radial paths, maybe mirroring constellations, maybe just clever planning, stretching out like a cosmic map under your boots. The Amazon's humid air thick with the scent and the jungle's ceaseless hum, the moat's muddy trench a protective echo in your mind. The buzz of insects and the rustle of leaves blend with the memory of that clay figurine smile, a hint of lives tied to this geometric marvel. Now, you're watching nature reclaim these ruins, the jungle's green fingers swallowing the lost city's remnants in these quiet corners. It's centuries ago, and you're brushing vines from a crumbling mound, the forest's slow conquest a silent force around you. Historians say the Amazon's tropical climate, with its relentless rain and growth, buried many ancient sites, like those in Bolivia's Llanos de Moxos. after their societies declined around 1400 CE, leaving ruins to the jungle's embrace. You're standing by a house mound, its edges soft under a carpet of moss, roots twisting through like veins. Trees sprout from what was once a plaza, their trunks thick, splitting the earthworks you've seen. The jungle's winning, erasing the star village's lines, but the ruins fight back, their shapes stubborn beneath the green. The air's alive, frogs croak, and macaw screeches, and you're dodging a falling leaf, wary of the forest's quiet power. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe the jungle chooses which ruins to spare, leaving certain stones untouched as a sign of favour. You're eyeing a clear patch of earthwork, half convinced it's special, but it's probably just luck. Historians still argue whether this was myth or a way to explain uneven decay. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone thanking a tree for sparing ruins with number jungle favours vibes. The humidity's crushing, your skin slick, the scent of damp wood and earth pulling you deeper into the forest's grip. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, their hovels crumbling under neglect, and how this jungle's reclamation feels wilder, unlike those Parisian bakers' guild-protected shops. Your machete slices a vine, but the jungle's relentless, reclaiming faster than you can clear. Ever see nature take back what's hers? It's like watching an abandoned lot turn feral but grander. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon's Ruins vs. Jungle, the forest's alive, ants march, a branch creaks, and you're yawning, the heat and the ruins fading lines pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep moving. These quiet corners hold more secrets, slowly vanishing under green. You're still navigating the star-shaped village, the jungle's green tendrils, swallowing those ruins with their chosen stones, remember? Creeping closer, the Amazon's humid air thick with the scent of moss and the forest's relentless hum. The crumbling mound you brushed clean fades behind you, its fight against nature a quiet echo of the moat's defensive scar. Now, you're meeting modern tribes. Their traditions a living bridge to the ancient Amazonians who built these lost cities in these quiet corners. It's the present day, and you're sitting in a village clearing, the chatter of a local family weaving past and present, their words a thread to the past. Historians say contemporary Amazonian tribes like the Quicuro in Brazil's Xingu region preserve practices, farming, fishing, storytelling, that echo their ancestors' ways, linking them to the urban societies that vanished centuries ago. You're cross-legged on a woven mat, a Quicuro elder gesturing as she describes planting manioc, her method not far from the terra preta techniques you uncovered. Her hands, rough from work, trace patterns in the air, maybe like the pottery swirls you found. The village hums, kids laugh, a fire crackles, and you're sipping a bitter root drink, its tang sharp, grounding you in this moment. The jungle's close, its buzz, a familiar lullaby. Here's the quirky bit. Some tribes believe ancestral spirits linger in old tools, so you're eyeing a worn digging stick nearby, half expecting it to whisper. Historians still argue whether this is spiritual continuity or a way to honour history. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone chatting with a shovel with hashtag Amazon Spirit Tools vibes. The air's warm, your skin sticky, the scent of smoke and earth blending with the jungle's green pulse, pulling you deeper into the tribe's world. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, bound by church bells, and how these tribes live freely, unlike those Parisian bakers dodging guild spies. Your machete's sheathed, your hands tracing the mat's weave, each not a nod to ancient crafts. Ever meet someone whose life feels like a time capsule? It's like talking to a grandparent who remembers the old ways. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon Tribe's Timeless Ways. The jungle's alive, birds call, leaves rustle, and you're yawning, the heat and the elder's rhythmic voice pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to listen. These quiet corners hold living echoes, waiting to be heard. You're still sitting cross-legged in the Quicuro village clearing, the elder's voice, weaving tales of manioc and ancestral spirits, like that whispering digging stick fading into the Amazon's warm air, thick with the scent of smoke and the jungle's green hum. The woven mat beneath you, a nod to ancient crafts, grounds you as the modern tribe's life echoes the star-shaped village's lost pulse, now crumbling under vines. Now you're reflecting on the silent legacy of the Amazon's lost cities, their secrets enduring in these quiet corners, a tapestry of ruins and stories that outlast time. It's a timeless moment, and you're tracing a final path through the jungle, heart full, the past whispering with every step. Historians say the Amazon's pre-Columbian civilizations, with their earthworks and trade routes, left a cultural imprint that persists in modern tribes and archaeological wonders, shaping our understanding of a once thriving region before 1500 CE. You're walking a faint trail, the jungle's canopy a green roof, passing a stone marker like those on the trade route you followed. The cities, moats, terraces, star villages, are gone, but their echoes live in the Quiqueros fields, the pottery shards you held, the ritual pit's charred embers. The forest hums, monkeys chatter, water drips, and you're picturing the people who built these places, their lives as vibrant as the jungle itself. Here's the quirky bit. Some locals believe the jungle hides one final city. Its stones, sleeping until the right explorer arrives, so you're half scanning for a glint of ruin, just in case. Historians still argue whether this is myth or a hint at undiscovered sites. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone hunting for this city, with hashtag Amazon Last City vibes. The air's heavy, your skin slick, the scent of earth and leaves pulling you deeper into the legacy's weight. You're thinking of those medieval peasants, their lives erased by time, and how these Amazonian cities, unlike those Parisian bakers' guild-bound world, left a mark that nature guards. Your machetes sheathed, your hands brushing a vine, each step a farewell to these ruins. Ever leave a place that feels like it's watching you go? It's like saying goodbye to a house full of ghosts. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Amazon's Silent Legacy. The jungle's alive, ants march, a bird calls, and you're yawning, the heat and the past's quiet pool drawing you into a sleepy haze, but you're at peace, the city's secrets safe in your memory. And now, as the jungle's hum softens, the canopy's green glow fades into a gentle dusk, the scent of earth and leaves drifting like a warm breath. You sink into the trail's rhythm, its mud a cradle under your boots. The Amazon's secrets, ruins, shards, stories, settling in your heart like seeds in terra preta. The lost cities, once vibrant, now rest in these quiet corners, their legacy a whisper carried by the wind, the tribes, the stars above. Picture yourself now wrapped in the forest's embrace. The rivers murmur a distant lullaby, the night stars peeking through. Let the world slow, the jungle's pulse cradle you, and drift into a dream where the cities rise again, silent but eternal. Sleep well, explorer. You've walked their paths. Now we will start why Renaissance apothecaries loved odd smells. You're stepping into a 16th century apothecary shop in Florence, the wooden door creaking as you enter, the air hitting you with a wave of rosemary, vinegar, and something suspiciously like old socks. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries were central to medicine, blending herbs, spices, and folklore into remedies for everything from fevers to lovesickness. You're behind the counter, surrounded by shelves of clay jars, their labels faded, the scents mingling, mint, camphor, a hint of mould. The shop's dim, lit by flickering candles, and a customer's waiting, coughing like he's auditioning for a plague drama. You're grabbing a mortar, already dreading the smells you'll unleash. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believed a shop's smell itself scared off bad spirits, so you're half convinced the stink's your first line of defense. Historians still argue whether this was superstition, or a marketing trick to seem mystical. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone sniffing a shop with number Renaissance vibes. The air's heavy, your apron stained, the scent of dried lavender battling something foul from a back shelf making you wince. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, crafting with earthy smells, and how this shop's chaos feels more frantic than their jungle calm. Your pestle grinds, the candles hum, and the customer's wheeze pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay sharp. Mixing wrong could mean trouble. Ever work in a place that smells like a science experiment gone wild? It's like a kitchen with no recipe. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Surviving the Apothecary Stink. The shop's alive, jars clink, a mouse skitters, and you're bracing for the day's aromatic adventure. You're still behind the counter of the Florence apothecary shop, the air thick with that rosemary vinegar tang. Remember that spirit-scaring stink? As you wipe your hands on your stained apron, the customer's cough fading out the creaky door. The shelves loom, jars glinting in the candlelight, their mingled scents of mould and mint a constant haze. Now you're grinding herbs, their odd medicinal aromas filling the shop with a cloud of healing stench that's both promise and punishment. It's the 16th century, and you're pounding dried leaves in a mortar, each crush releasing a whiff that could wake the dead or knock you out. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries relied heavily on herbs like sage, thyme, and wormwood, valued for their supposed ability to balance bodily humours, a core medical belief of the time. You're working with wormwood now, its bitter green scent sharp enough to sting your eyes, the leaves crumbling under your pestle. The shop's dim, the air warm from the candles, and you're sneezing, the herb's dust tickling your nose. You're meant to mix this into a poultice for fever, but it smells like something you'd rather burn than apply. The mortar's heavy, your arm's aching, and you're wondering if the customer will even survive the smell. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries swore crushing herbs under moonlight boosted their potency, so you're half wishing you'd waited for night, just to hedge your bets. Historians still argue whether this was mysticism or a way to avoid daytime crowds. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone grinding herbs by moonshine with number moonlit medicine vibes. The air's thick, the wormwood's acrid tang mixing with a sweeter lavender from a nearby jar, making you dizzy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, using jungle plants with earthy scents, and how their calm rituals feel worlds away from this frantic shop. Your pestle thumps rhythmically. The shop's hum, clinking jars, a distant street vendor's shout, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep grinding. Ever mix something that smells like a dare? It's like brewing coffee with gym socks in the pot. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Herb Stinkfest. The customer's due back, expecting a miracle, and you're bracing for the next aromatic challenge, wishing for a breeze to clear the shop's pungent fog. You're still hunched over the mortar in the Florence apothecary shop, the wormwood's bitter stench, moonlight crushed, though not literally, clinging to your hands, its green dust coating your apron as the shop's herbal haze swirls, a faint echo of that spirit-chasing smell you're used to. The candles flicker, casting shadows on shelves packed with jars, the air thick with lavender and something mustier from the back. Now you're handling animal-based remedies, their whiff of dried musk and decay making you gag as you scoop strange bits into a potion. It's the 16th century, and you're measuring out powdered toad skin, the shop's odd smells hitting new lows in this pungent adventure. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries often used animal parts, like snake fat, bat wings, or dried organs, believing they held unique curative powers, a practice rooted in ancient texts and humoral theory. You're staring at a jar of desiccated toad, its leathery scraps smelling like a swamp's bad day, and you're sprinkling a pinch into a vial for a customer's joint pain. The scent's vile, a mix of rot and dust, and you're holding your breath, the vial's glass cool, but the contents grim. The shop's dim, a cat slinking by. Probably smarter than whoever thought this was medicine. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries claimed a toad smell alone could predict rain, so you're sniffing it, half joking, wondering if you'll need a cloak later. Historians still argue whether this was folklore or a way to upsell remedies during storms. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone sniffing dried critters with hashtag toad weather vibes. The air's heavy, the toads reek tangling with a nearby jar of mint, creating a nauseating cocktail that's got you woozy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, using earthy jungle plants, and how their scents seem fresh compared to this barnyard nightmare. Unlike those medieval peasants' gruel stench, your spoon clinks, the shops hum, street vendors, a creaking floorboard, soft but steady, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay focused. Ever handle something that smells like a dare gone wrong? It's like opening a gym bag left in the sun. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Toad Potion Chaos. The customer's waiting, expecting relief, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for a mask to tame this foul whiff. You're still in the Florence apothecary shop, the vile whiff of that powdered toad skin, rain predicting or not, lingering on your fingers, mixing with the wormwood's bitter tang from your last grind. The shop's air a murky soup of smells that cling like damp wool. The shelves loom, jars glinting in the candlelight, the faint hum of the street outside barely cutting through the stench. Now, you're mixing costly spices, their exotic fumes swirling with potent promise, a heady contrast to the animal reek you just escaped. It's the 16th century, and you're sifting saffron threads, each pinch a fortune, the shop's pungent symphony hitting a high note. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries prized spices like saffron, cinnamon and cloves, imported from Asia and Africa, for their supposed medicinal powers, often costing more than gold due to perilous trade routes. You're handling saffron now, its crimson strands delicate, their sweet, hay-like scent filling the air as you grind them into a fine powder for a noble's headache remedy. The mortar's smooth, your hands steady despite the spice's price. Spill this, and you're in debt for life. The shop's warm, candles flickering, and you're sneezing, the saffron's dust tickling your nose like a perfumed prank. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believe saffron smell could lift spirits, so you're inhaling deeply, half hoping it cheers you up after the toad fiasco. Historians still argue whether this was early aromatherapy or just placebo hype. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone sniffing spices with hashtag saffron mood boost vibes. The air's thick, the saffron's warmth tangling with a lingering toad musk, creating a bizarre blend that's oddly intoxicating. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, using earthy jungle scents, and how their simplicity trumps this spice's luxury, unlike those medieval peasants choking on gruel fumes. Your pestle scrapes, the shop's hum, clinking vials, a customer's cough, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay sharp. Saffron's too precious for mistakes. Ever handle something so expensive it stresses you out? It's like cooking with truffles on a budget. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Spice Sniffing. The noble servant waits, eyeing your work, and you're bracing for the next aromatic challenge, wishing for a breeze to clear the shop's heady fog. You're still in the Florence Apothecary shop, the saffron's sweet hay-like fumes, supposedly a mood lifter, lingering in your nose, a welcome shift from that toadskin's swampy reek, though the shop's air remains a dense blend of spices and herbs from your earlier grinding. The candles cast a warm glow on the shelves, jars of wormwood and worse looming, the street's faint hum seeping through the walls. Now, you're crafting perfumes. Their floral and musky notes a clever mask for the Renaissance's everyday filth, a scented shield in these pungent corners. It's the 16th century, and you're blending rosewater and ambergris, each drop a battle against the era's unwashed reality. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries doubled as perfumers, creating fragrances for the wealthy to combat the stench of crowded cities, where baths were rare and streets doubled as sewers. You're pouring rosewater into a glass vial, its delicate sweetness cutting through the shop's heavier smells, then adding a speck of ambergris, whale-derived, musky, and wildly expensive. The mix is for a lady's pomander, a scented ball to wave under her nose at court. The shop's cosy, the air thick with floral notes, but you're wincing. The ambergris's odd, fishy undertone reminding you of the river's wharf. Here's the quirky bit. Some believe strong perfumes could ward off disease, so you're dabbing a bit on your wrist, half hoping it protects you from the coughing customers. Historians still argue whether this was early germ theory or just wishful sniffing. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone spritzing perfume like hand sanitizer with number Renaissance scent vibes. The air's warm, the rosewater's softness tangling with the saffron's ghost, creating a heady cloud that's got you lightheaded. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their earthy jungle scents and how their natural air beats this city's grime. Unlike those medieval peasants dodging outhouse stinks, your fingers work the vial, the shop's hum, clinking glass, a cat's purr, pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to stay precise. One wrong drop, and the perfume's ruined. Ever mix something that smells like luxury but feels like a gamble? It's like baking a cake for a queen. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Perfume Fumbles. The lady servant waits, impatient, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for a whiff of fresh air. You're still in the Florence Apothecary shop, the rosewater and ambergris perfume, your disease-warding dab still tingling on your wrist, lingering in the air, a fleeting sweetness battling the saffron's ghost and the toadskin's grim memory. The shelves bristle with jars, their herbal and musky scents a constant fog. The candles flicker, casting shadows on the worn counter. Now, you're concocting plague remedies. Their foul odours a desperate bid to fend off the Black Death's shadow, each whiff a grim reminder of the stakes. It's the 16th century, and you're stirring a pot of vinegar and rue, the shop's pungent air turning downright noxious. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries crafted plague remedies using ingredients like vinegar, rue and garlic, based on the miasma theory that bad air caused disease, a belief driving much of their smelly work. You're leaning over a steaming pot, the vinegar's sharp tang burning your eyes, the rue's bitter, weedy stench making you gag. This brews for a plague mask stuffed into its beak to protect a doctor from miasmas. The shop's warm, the air thick with acrid fumes, and you're coughing. The mix so potent it feels like it could scare death itself, or at least the neighbours. The counter's cluttered, vials clinking, and you're praying this works because the plague's no joke. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believed stirring plague brews counterclockwise trapped evil spirits, so you're swirling the pot backward, half joking, hoping it adds some magic. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a way to seem mystical to desperate clients. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone stirring soup the wrong way with #plague potion vibes. The air's heavy, the vinegar's sting mixing with a faint rosewater trace, creating a bizarre blend that's got you woozy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their earthy jungle remedies, and how their clean air trumps this plague-haunted city. Unlike those medieval peasants dodging death's stench, your spoon scrapes, the shop's hum, street vendors, a creaking floor, pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to stay alert. One wrong move, and this brew's useless. Ever mix something that smells like it could kill or cure? It's like cooking with expired yogurt, but scarier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Plague Brew Blunders. The doctor's waiting, mask in hand, and you're bracing for the next smelly challenge, wishing for a breeze to clear this toxic fog. You're still stirring the plague remedy in the Florence apothecary shop, the vinegar and rue's acrid stench, swirled counterclockwise to trap those spirits, burning your throat, a grim follow-up to the rosewater perfume's fleeting sweetness, now lost in the shop's pungent haze. The candles flicker, shelves packed with jars of wormwood and worse looming, the faint hum of Florence's streets barely piercing the reek. Now, you're dabbling in alchemy, mixing smoky, strange brews that smell like burnt dreams, chasing the philosopher's stone or at least a decent profit. It's the 16th century, and you're heating a crucible over a small furnace, the shop's air turning into a charred, mystical fog. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries often blurred into alchemists, experimenting with metals and herbs to transmute substances or create elixirs, driven by both science and mysticism popular in the era. You're tending a crucible, its contents, mercury, sulphur, a pinch of sage, bubbling with a sharp metallic tang that stings your nose. The goal's an elixir for longevity, but it smells more like a blacksmith's forge gone wrong. The shop's warm, the furnaces glow casting eerie shadows, and you're squinting through the smoke, hoping you don't blow anything up. The counter's cluttered, vials clinking, and you're half expecting a spark to end your career. Here's the quirky bit. Some alchemists believed a brew's smell revealed its soul, so you're sniffing the fumes, half convinced they're cosmic or just toxic. Historians still argue whether this was early chemistry or pure mysticism. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone huffing a lab experiment with #alchemy sniff vibes. The air's thick, the sulphur's burnt reek tangling with the plague brew's vinegar ghost, creating a head-spinning blend that's got you woozy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their earthy jungle rituals, and how their natural scents beat this smoky chaos, unlike those medieval peasants choking on field dust. Your tongs adjust the crucible, the shop's hum, street vendors, a cat's meow pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay sharp. Alchemy's unforgiving. Ever mess with something that feels like magic but smells like trouble? It's like grilling with gasoline. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Alchemy Fumes. A scholar's waiting, eyeing your brew, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for a window to clear this charred air. You're still in the Florence apothecary shop, the crucible's smoky, sulphurous fumes, those soul-revealing whiffs from your alchemical dabbling, lingering in the air, a burnt haze that overshadows the plague remedy's vinegar sting and the faint rosewater perfume from earlier tasks. The candles flicker, casting jittery shadows on shelves packed with jars, the shop's pungent fog now laced with a metallic tang. Now you're navigating the chaos of Florence's market, its stalls brimming with aromatic remedy ingredients, each scent a shout in the city's noisy, smelly symphony. It's the 16th century, and you're weaving through crowds, a basket under your arm, chasing fresh herbs and exotic powders. Historians say Renaissance markets, like Florence's Mercato Vecchio, were vital for apothecaries, supplying herbs, spices, and animal parts for remedies, with trade routes bringing goods from as far as India. You're dodging a cart of squawking chickens, the air thick with the scents of crushed mint, roasted nuts, and the sour whiff of unwashed bodies. A vendor waves bundles of sage, its earthy aroma tempting, but you're after cloves. Pricey, but needed for a toothache paste. The market's alive. Vendors shout, a dog barks. And you're haggling, your few coins barely enough. The clove's spicy warmth already teasing your nose. Here's the quirky bit. Some vendors swore scattering fennel seeds around their stall drew customers, so you're stepping over a suspiciously seed-strewn patch, half amused. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a clever scent-based sales trick. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone tossing seeds at a farmer's market with hashtag Renaissance sales vibes. The air's warm, the clove's sharp scent mixing with the market's chaotic blend. Fish, sweat, flowers, making you dizzy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, trading jungle goods with earthy smells, and how their calm bartering beats this frenetic market, unlike those medieval peasants dodging taxmen. Your basket's heavy, the shops hum, clinking jars, a distant bell calling you back, but you're caught in the market's pulse, pulling you into a sleepy haze. Ever shop in a place that's sensory overload? It's like a Black Friday sale, but smellier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Market Smell Fest. The vendor hands over the cloves, and you're bracing for the shop's next aromatic challenge, wishing for a quiet corner to catch your breath. You're weaving back from the Florence market, the clove's spicy warmth, nabbed despite those fennel seed sales tricks, tucked in your basket, their scent mingling with the apothecary shop's lingering sulphurous haze from your alchemical brew and the plague remedy's vinegar sting. The shop's candles flicker as you duck inside, the air thick with the ghost of rosewater and toad skin, shelves groaning under jars of herbs and worse. Now, you're distilling floral essences, their sweet vapours a delicate dance in the shop's pungent world, crafting remedies that soothe both body and soul. It's the 16th century, and you're tending a copper still, the soft gurgle of boiling petals filling the air with a fragrant reprieve. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries mastered distillation, using stills to extract floral essences like rose or chamomile for medicines and cosmetics, a technique refined from Arabic alchemy. You're working with chamomile now, its apple-like sweetness rising as steam condenses into a glass vial, each drop a remedy for sleeplessness. The still's warm, the shop's air softening with the floral scent, a stark contrast to the market's chaotic reek. You're adjusting the flame, careful not to scorch the petals, your hand steady despite the long day. The candle's glow dances and you're breathing deeply, the chamomile's calm almost lulling you. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believe singing to the still enhance the essence's power, so you're humming a tune, half joking, hoping it boosts the batch. Historians still argue whether this was ritual or just a way to pass time during slow distillation. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone serenading a lab setup with hashtag chamomile chanteuse vibes. The air's warm, the floral vapours tangling with the clove's spicy trace, creating a heady blend that's got you lightheaded. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their earthy jungle scents, and how their natural remedies feel simpler than this floral alchemy, unlike those medieval peasants' grim outhouse whiffs. The still gurgles, the shop's hum, clinking vials, a street vendor's faint call, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay focused. One slip, and the essence is ruined. Ever craft something that smells like a hug? It's like baking cookies, but for your soul. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Flower Power. A customer waits, eyeing the vial, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for the chamomile's calm to linger. You're still tending the copper, still in the Florence apothecary shop. The chamomile's apple-sweet vapours hum to for extra potency, remember? Drifting from the vial, a gentle reprieve from the clove's spicy kick, and the alchemical brew's burnt sulphur haze that lingers in the shop's pungent air. The candle's glow dances on shelves packed with jars, the faint market bustle seeping through the walls. Now, you're analysing urine smell for medical clues, a grim task that makes the floral essences seem like a lost dream, each whiff a diagnostic dive into Renaissance medicine's odd corners. It's the 16th century, and you're swirling a flask of amber liquid, nose wrinkled, trying not to gag. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries practiced uroscopy, examining urine's colour, smell, and even taste to diagnose ailments, a standard medical technique rooted in humoral theory. You're holding a glass flask, the urine inside warm from a feverish customer, its sharp ammonia-like stench hitting you like a slap. You're tilting it, checking for cloudiness, the smell shifting, sour, almost metallic, hinting at an imbalance of yellow bile. The shop's warm, the air thick with the urine's rank odour. clashing with the chamomile's fading sweetness. You're grimacing, the flask heavy, wondering how anyone thought sniffing this was science. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believed a sweet urine smell meant divine favour, so you're half hoping for a sugary note just to lighten the mood. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a misunderstanding of diabetes. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone sniffing a lab sample with number Renaissance P vibes. The air's heavy, the urine stench tangling with a lingering clove trace, creating a nauseating blend that's got you woozy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes using earthy jungle remedies, and how their clean air trumps this bodily reek. Unlike those medieval peasants' outhouse nightmares, the flask glints, the shops hum, clinking jars a cat's soft tread, pulling you into a sleepy haze. But you've got to stay sharp. Misreading this could mean a wrong cure. Ever smell something that feels like a dare? It's like opening a fridge with month-old leftovers. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Urine Sniffing. The customer waits, anxious, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for a whiff of chamomile to clear this foul air. You're still in the Florence apothecary shop. The urine flask's ammonia stench, sweet or not, it's no divine favour, still stinging your nose, a grim contrast to the chamomile's soothing vapours now just a memory. The shop's air thick with the clove's spicy ghost and the alchemical brew's burnt tang. The candles flicker, shelves heavy with jars, the faint hum of Florence's streets a distant pulse. Now, you're burning resins, their sacred fumes curling through the shop, a smoky ritual meant to purify or please the divine in this pungent world. It's the 16th century, and you're tossing frankincense onto a glowing coal, the air turning rich and heavy with its ancient scent. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries used resins like frankincense and myrrh in religious and medicinal rituals, valued for their spiritual significance and supposed ability to cleanse bad air, a practice inherited from medieval and ancient traditions. You're watching the frankincense smoulder, its warm balsamic aroma rising in thick curls, filling the shop with a scent that's both sacred and slightly sweet, like a church after mass. The coal's glow warms your fingers, the shop's air softening, but the resin's intensity makes you cough, a reminder of the plague brew's vinegar sting. You're meant to sell this as a purifying incense for a priest, and you're hoping it masks the urine's lingering reek. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believed burning resins at midnight summoned angelic protection, so you're half tempted to save a pinch for later, just in case. Historians still argue whether this was faith or a way to impress devout clients. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone lighting incense at midnight with #angel smoke vibes. The air's thick, the frankincense's rich fumes tangling with the urine's faint ghost, creating a heady blend that's got you dizzy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their jungle rituals with earthy scents, and how their spiritual calm feels purer than this smoky show, unlike those medieval peasants' church-bound prayers. The coal hisses, the shops hum, clinking vials, a street vendor's call, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay focused. Too much resin, and the priest will complain. Ever burn something that feels like a spell? It's like lighting a candle with extra drama. You're still in the Florence apothecary shop, the frankincense's balsamic fumes, midnight angel bait or not, curling through the air, a sacred haze that barely masks the urine flask's sour ghost and the chamomile's faded sweetness. The shop's pungent tapestry woven with cloves and sulphur. The candle's glow dances on shelves packed with jars, the faint hum of Florence's streets seeping through the walls. Now, you're handling dangerous potions, their subtle scents masking lethal potential, a delicate dance with poisons in this smelly world. It's the 16th century, and you're measuring a drop of belladonna, its faint herbal whiff hiding a deadly secret. Your hands steady despite the risk. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries dealt in poisons like belladonna and hemlock, used in tiny doses for medicine, but notorious for their role in court intrigues and assassinations. A shadowy side of the trade. You're working with belladonna now, its dark berries crushed into a vial, their mild green scent deceptively gentle, like a meadow with a grudge. One drop too many, and it's curtains for the customer. Or you, if the guild catches you slipping. The shop's warm, the air thick with the poison's subtle tang, blending with the frankincense's smoky residue. You're squinting, the vial's glass cool, praying your measurements are exact. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries whispered charms over poisons to tame their danger, so you're muttering a quick rhyme. half joking, hoping it keeps the belladonna in check. Historians still argue whether this was superstition or a way to focus during risky work. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone chanting over a chemistry set with hashtag poison charm vibes. The air's heavy, the belladonna's faint herbal note tangling with the shop's layered reeks, creating a tense, dizzying blend. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their jungle remedies free of such treachery, and how their earthy scents feel safer than this deadly game, unlike those medieval peasants' plague-dreading lives. The vial clinks, the shops hum, street vendors, a creaking floor, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay sharp. Poison's unforgiving. Ever handle something that feels like a loaded gun? It's like cooking with ghost peppers. One mistake and you're done. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Poison Play. A shady client waits, eyeing the vial, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for the frankincense's calm to steady your nerves. You're still in the Florence apothecary shop. The belladonna's faint herbal scent. Charmed or not, it's still deadly. Lingering in the vial you've just sealed. A dangerous note in the shop's pungent symphony of frankincense's smoky haze, urine's sour ghost, and chamomile's lost sweetness. The candles flicker, casting jittery shadows on shelves brimming with jars. The faint hum of Florence's streets a distant pulse. Now you're catering to customers craving specific smells, their quirky requests turning the shop into a bespoke scent factory, each order a dive into the Renaissance's odd olfactory desires. It's the 16th century, and you're blending a custom pomander for a merchant, his demand for spicy yet holy, a challenge in this smelly world. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries tailored remedies and fragrances to clients' whims, reflecting a growing culture of personal luxury and status, with scents signalling wealth or piety. You're grinding cloves and myrrh, the cloves' sharp warmth mingling with myrrh's resinous church-like depth, aiming for a pomander to hang from the merchant's belt. The mortar's heavy, the air thick with the spicy sacred blend, a welcome shift from the belladonna's menace. You're sneezing, the cloves' dust tickling your nose, and you're picturing the merchant waving this at court looking smug. The shop's warm, vials clinking, and you're wondering if this scent will earn you a tip, or just complaints. Here's the quirky bit. Some clients believed a scent could sway their fate, so you're adding a pinch of rosemary, half joking, to boost the merchant's luck. Historians still argue whether this was placebo or a nod to ancient astrology. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone sniffing a custom candle, with number Renaissance scent luck vibes. The air's heady, the myrrh's smoky tang tangling with the shop's layered reeks, creating a dizzying mix that's got you lightheaded. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their earthy jungle aromas tied to survival, and how their simplicity trumps this fussy luxury, unlike those medieval peasants' gruel-soaked lives. Your pestle scrapes, the shop's hum, street vendors, a cat's purr, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to stay precise. The merchant's picky. Ever mix something to please a demanding boss? It's like cooking for a food critic with no recipe. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Scent Requests. The merchant waits, sniffing impatiently, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for a simple order to ease this aromatic chaos. You're still in the Florence apothecary shop, the cloves and myrrh pomander, spicy, holy, and luck-boosted with that rosemary pinch, now tucked into a velvet pouch for the merchant, its rich scent battling the belladonna's faint menace and the frankincense's smoky ghost in the shop's pungent air. The candle's glow flickers on shelves heavy with jars, the hum of Florence's streets a soft undercurrent. Now, you're using tools steeped in lingering aromas, their wooden and metal surfaces soaked with years of herbal, spicy, and downright foul smells, each one a silent partner in your craft. It's the 16th century, and you're scrubbing a mortar, its ingrained whiffs a time capsule of every remedy you've mixed. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries relied on tools like mortars, stills, and spoons, often passed down through generations, their materials absorbing the scents of countless concoctions, a practical and symbolic link to the trade's past. You're working with an old oak mortar, its surface dark and slick, smelling of wormwood's bitterness, saffron's sweetness, and a hint of that toadskin's grim musk from weeks ago. Each grind releases a layered whiff, like a diary of your work. Plague brews, perfumes, poisons. The shop's warm, the air thick with the mortar's nostalgic reek, and you're wincing, the scents, stirring memories of long nights and fussy clients. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believed a tool's smell held its wisdom, so you're half tempted to sniff the mortar for inspiration, hoping it shares some secrets. Historians still argue whether this was reverence for craft or just a way to justify old equipment. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone huffing a kitchen spoon with #WiseMortar vibes. The air's heavy, the mortar's aroma tangling with the myrrh's fading sacred note, creating a heady blend that's got you dizzy. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their jungle tools scented with earth, and how their simplicity feels cleaner than this aromatic archive, unlike those medieval peasants' crude, manure-tainted gear. Your scrub brush scrapes, the shop's hum, clinking vials, a distant bell, pulling you into a sleepy haze, but you've got to keep cleaning. A dirty tool ruins remedies. Ever use something that feels like it's got a story? It's like cooking with your grandma's skillet, but smellier. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Tool Sniffs. A new customer waits, eyeing your work, and you're bracing for the next smelly task, wishing for a fresh mortar to lighten the load. You're still scrubbing the oak mortar in the Florence apothecary shop, its ingrained scents, wormwood, saffron, even that toadskin musk, wafting up like a smelly memoir, mingling with the myrrh pomander's spicy ghost, and the belladonna's faint menace in the shop's pungent air. The candle's flicker casts soft shadows on shelves packed with jars, the hum of Florence's streets fading into a quiet evening pulse. Now, you're reflecting on the lasting legacy of Renaissance apothecaries' love for odd smells, their aromatic world shaping medicine, culture, and even modern perfumery in these fragrant corners. It's the 16th century, and you're setting down the mortar, hands tingling with the day's scents, wondering how these whiffs echo through time. Historians say Renaissance apothecaries laid the groundwork for modern pharmacology and perfumery, their experiments with herbs, spices and resins, driven by a fascination with smells, evolving into today's medicines and fragrances, with techniques like distillation still in use. You're leaning against the counter, the shop's air a tapestry of your work, chamomile's sweet calm, frankincense's sacred haze, urine's sour sting, all blending into a legacy that outlives the wooden beams above. You're picturing modern labs and perfume counters, their clean precision rooted in this chaotic, smelly craft. The shop's warm, the air heavy with memory, and you're smiling, realizing your grinding, sniffing and stirring mattered. Here's the quirky bit. Some apothecaries believed a shop's final scent at day's end foretold its future, so you're inhaling deeply, hoping the mix promises prosperity. Historians still argue whether this was superstition, or a poetic farewell to the day's work. You're chuckling, picturing a modern TikTok of someone sniffing a lab at closing, with #scented legacy vibes. The air's soft, the mortar's aroma tangling with the shop's layered whiffs, pulling you into a dreamy haze. You're thinking of those Amazonian tribes, their earthy jungle scents tied to survival, and how this shop's fragrant chaos feels richer than those medieval peasants' grim stinks, yet all share a human need to harness smell. The candles dim, the shop's hum, clinking jars, a cat's soft tread, fading, and you're yawning. The day's aromatic weight settling like a warm cloak. Ever finish a task that feels bigger than you? It's like planting a seed you'll never see bloom. You smirk, imagining a YouTube vlog titled Renaissance Smells Forever. And now, as the shop's candles sputter, their glow softens into a gentle dusk. The scents, herbs, spices, sacred fumes, drift like a warm sigh, wrapping you in their timeless embrace. You sink against the counter, the mortar's weight a quiet anchor, the day's chaos, poisons, perfumes, prayers, melting into a fragrant lullaby. The Renaissance world, so vivid and pungent, fades into these quiet corners, its legacy a whisper in every breath you take, carrying you toward rest. Picture yourself now, cradled by the shop's warmth, the city's hum a distant song, the stars beyond the roof twinkling softly. Let the scents linger, the air soothe you, and drift into a dream where the smells never fade, only bloom. Sleep well, apothecary, your craft endures.